We're kicking off today with Smackdown, as going into the show, all attention was on what Cody Rhodes would have to say about WrestleMania 40. On Raw, Seth Rollins pled his case to Cody for why they should face off at WrestleMania, in stark contrast to the original plan for Rhodes to have his rematch with Roman Reigns in Philly. In a face-to-face with the Tribal Chief, Rhodes held nothing back, but Reigns had plenty of barbs of his own and relished in delivering some of the most villainous comments of his career. When Seth Rollins' name came up, Reigns gladly declared, "Exactly, no pop," when noting the lack of reaction, and said he works 10 times less than Rollins and earns 10 times more. Reigns added that he wasn't going to beg to Cody like the other guy, and said Rhodes can be the world's best number 2 or take another crack at being number 1. After waxing poetic about the concept of finishing his story and what that actually means, Rhodes revealed, "I'm coming for you, just not at WrestleMania." Rhodes then spoke about a person who's very familiar with Reigns, which marked the arrival of The Rock, who earned a thunderous ovation from the Birmingham crowd. The Rock and Reigns shared a stare-down to close out the show, with a graphic announcing a press conference in Las Vegas for Thursday in a blockbuster ending. While it's exciting to see The Rock back, there is a definite feel that all of Cody's work has been for naught, as he seemingly won't be getting his win back over Reigns at WrestleMania 40. Rhodes stepping aside for The Rock felt all too much like the horrendous conclusion of WrestleMania 9, where Bret Hart did the same for Hulk Hogan, making it clear that the old-timer was still the man. Cody has put in the work for 2 years now, earning the respect and admiration of the fans, and is now seemingly walking away from the match because The Rock advised him to. Hopefully next week's Raw will offer up a better explanation of things, as Reigns' criticism of the World Heavyweight Championship and Rollins only makes Cody look worse for going for that title. There's no denying the electricity between The Rock and Reigns, but to book that over your top babyface's story, close to 2 years in the making, feels like a long-term creative misfire. But what did you think? Is Rock vs. Roman the right choice, or should it be Cody getting that spot? Let us know down below. Bayley was also on Smackdown to declare her WrestleMania 40 intentions, and in a backstage segment, overheard her Damage Control allies mock her, saying she is done tonight. In the ring, Bayley teased challenging Rhea Ripley in April before confronting her family, asking them why they never say anything in her language and if they were done laughing now. There was a very cool moment in which Bayley spoke in Japanese to Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Io Sky, which drew a great reaction from the crowd and was her thumbs down moment, like Batista in 2005. With a lead pipe, Bayley fended off an attack by the trio and declared that she'd be facing Sky for the women's title at WrestleMania, and the role model certainly had fans on her side. This well-executed segment started with a callback to the demise of Evolution, where Batista overheard Triple H and Ric Flair talking trash, and is a strong start for Bayley's first face run in years. It was just 1 week ago that Vince McMahon resigned from WWE for the second time in his career due to the shocking allegations made against him in WWE in the lawsuit of Janel Grant. Unlike his 2022 departure, McMahon doesn't have the corporate sway to strong-arm himself back into WWE and TKO, who've been aware of this situation for some time. Fightful Select reports that it's believed TKO became aware of this situation after the WWE-UFC merger last September. One source said they believe TKO would have handled the launch of TKO, in which McMahon was heavily featured, very differently if they'd known this lawsuit was imminent. TKO were aware of what was happening when Vince McMahon was present at the New York Stock Exchange last week, in which TKO members celebrated the lucrative Netflix deal. McMahon is gone from WWE, but he certainly may not be the last, as this story could only get uglier from here for TKO Group Holdings. The allegations against McMahon and WWE as a whole are shocking and damning if proven true, and it now turns out that the former chairman has been under investigation for quite some time. After this lawsuit was filed last week, the Wall Street Journal reported that McMahon is now under federal investigation, but this isn't a new situation. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful noted on Twitter that federal agents executed a search warrant of McMahon's phone last summer and issued a subpoena to him for relevant documents. These documents should be related to any of the allegations against McMahon, including but not limited to the alleged sexual assault and trafficking of Miss Grant. Prosecutors have already interviewed several of the women that McMahon made hush-money payouts to in July, as Grant was promised $3 million, but only paid a third of that. For McMahon, this situation is very bad to say the least, and unfortunately for those in the company and TKO, this may just be the start of an even worse situation for the business. That's according to a longtime employee of WWE who told Fightful Select that they don't believe this lawsuit is the worst of it and pointed to a higher settlement. We already know that potential victims have been identified and contacted by attorneys and media outlets to see if they want to take action, so Janel Grant may not be the last to come forward. McMahon has been removed from WWE's website following his resignation, but if more women come forward, it could spell doom for McMahon, as well as others in the company. After all, with McMahon allegedly trafficking Miss Grant to other men in WWE, it's a sure thing that others in WWE knew what was happening, which may include WWE's CCO, Triple H. Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter pointed out that few people have been able to play the game better than Triple H, who now has one of the highest positions in WWE. Meltzer questioned if someone as high up as the game, who is also the son-in-law of McMahon, wouldn't know everything that was going on and somehow let this situation slip past his radar. Dave Meltzer added that his source was one of the biggest stars of the modern era, but stopped short of saying who it is, and Triple H's legacy could be tarnished if it turned out he knew. Triple H's creative work may have been praised by fans, but this situation could have a serious impact on his role with WWE, and it remains to be seen who else in WWE is tied to McMahon's alleged conduct. Now, there may be some questioning how Janel Grant is able to file a lawsuit against McMahon given that she reportedly signed an NDA in 2022 as part of her hush money payout. Well, according to Vice, the NDA agreement of this lawsuit may actually be useless, as her suit suggests that McMahon didn't fulfill the agreed-upon hush money payment in exchange for signing. If McMahon didn't fulfill his end of the NDA, then it may be rendered void, and if so, it may open up for other NDAs with other women being thrown out, according to a source familiar with the case. Carrie Goldberg, an attorney who represented victims of Harvey Weinstein, criticized the document, calling it poorly drafted, and of course, has a history of drafting NDAs for women to sign. Goldberg has said that the NDA is very vague, and while it asks for confidentiality, it does not give a definition as to what should be kept confidential, a gap that those wanting to speak could use. It was also pointed out that the NDA filed by Grant in federal court was not actually signed by McMahon, either in a personal capacity or as the then chair of WWE, in another issue for McMahon. It was later reported by a source familiar to the matter that the contract was signed secretly by McMahon on behalf of WWE, with Goldberg describing this conflict of interest as bizarre. Jody Short, a professor at UC Law San Francisco specializing in NDAs, believes that the agreement in question is invalid on its face, but that may not matter in the long run. Short explained that those who sign NDAs, even ones not worth the paper they're written on, are often against giant entities that have far more resources to fight a lawsuit. The gist of this argument is that while a person could speak out, it'd mean facing a much bigger, richer entity in court in what could be a costly endeavor for the individual. An NDA may be legally ineffective in theory, but proving it in court is a potentially challenging process with an uncertain outcome, one which could come at great emotional and financial cost to the person. As we've said, this is a complex situation that'll have a lot more come out in the coming weeks, and we at Slat Rock Wrestling will make sure to cover every bit of this developing situation. With this lawsuit, WWE and its relationship with women has been under much scrutiny, with several of WWE's women, past and present, speaking out about the situation. Taking to Twitter this week, Maria Kanellis shared her thoughts on the matter, saying what has been alleged is horrible and that many women heard rumors of different levels of evil for years in WWE. When those women tried to speak up and change the culture, they were called bitter or crazy, and Maria said others have been paralyzed by fear. Maria is praying for all the victims, including those who have spoken up, those who have suffered in silence, and those who are no longer with us, and hopes that justice is served. Whether that justice is served, time will tell, but this is an ugly situation, and one that Vince McMahon will have to face even after his exit from TKO last week. Brock Lesnar's name isn't directly mentioned in the lawsuit against McMahon, but Miss Grant alleges that she was trafficked to a former UFC heavyweight champion believed to be the Beast. In response, WWE pulled Lesnar from the men's 2024 Royal Rumble match, and he's no longer expected to compete at Elimination Chamber Perth, where he was going to face Dominic Mysterio. Now WWE has given their biggest sign to date that Lesnar is no longer going to be a factor, as PW Insider reports that WWEshop.com has placed almost all Lesnar merch in their discount sale. WWE typically slashes the prices of talent they have released, and while there's no confirmation that Brock is gone already, it appears that the writing is on the wall for the former Universal Champion. PW Insider was told by sources that Lesnar is off the table from creative pitches, and Sean Ross Sapp later confirmed that Lesnar has been removed from all creative plans. Brock Lesnar is a huge star, but his days in WWE may indeed be up, and who knows when, if ever, we'll see him in action again. More from Smackdown now, as the show featured Naomi in a backstage segment, who looked very happy after signing an exclusive contract with the Blue brand. Naomi celebrated with Mia Yim, Shotzi, and Bianca Belair, but their celebration was cut short by Tiffany Stratton, who also emerged from the office of Nick Aldis. Stratton stated that she too has signed with the Blue brand and got in the face of Bianca Belair before slapping Mia Yim across the face. This proved to be a strong way for Stratton to make her debut on the Blue brand, and in her first match as a SmackDown superstar, the former NXT Women's Champion defeated Yim. Expectations are high for Stratton on the main roster, and after her impressive Royal Rumble appearance, we'll have to see what's next in her career. SmackDown opened with US Champion Logan Paul, who enjoyed taking verbal shots at Alabama and the man he beat under controversial fashion at the Royal Rumble, Kevin Owens. Owens appeared to demand another shot at the US title, but instead faced Austin Theory, someone who he's shown chemistry with before, and this week proved to be no different. Owens' victory over Theory was never in any doubt, and with Paul set to be part of Elimination Chamber Perth, perhaps a rematch is only a few weeks away. In tag team action, Tyler Bate and the rechristened Pete Dunne kept their momentum going as they won a four-way to earn a shot at the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles. That match will happen at Elimination Chamber, and it could be the British Strong Style tandem that finally dethroned the Judgment Day Down Under this month. It wasn't long ago that Kevin Patrick was released from WWE, and while Michael Cole and Pat McAfee will commentate on Raw, Wade Barrett and Corey Graves will handle things on SmackDown. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer discussed the changes in the announcing teams and revealed that Graves will be the play-by-play guy, despite not typically being in that role. It was added that adjustments were made to accommodate McAfee, who agreed to return, and his enthusiasm and significant name value will prove to be a huge boost for Raw. McAfee has often shared his respect for Michael Cole, so it makes sense to put them together, and Barrett's effective work with Cole led to WWE deciding to keep him around. Ultimately, Kevin Patrick was seen as the weakest link in the chain, but Meltzer pointed out that it may be tough to keep McAfee on Raw when Monday Night Football returns. We'll have to wait and see whether the new commentary changes will end up giving positive results for the company in the long run, but WWE is certainly sounding different than it was only recently. In July of last year, WWE released a documentary on Cody Rhodes called American Nightmare: Becoming Cody Rhodes, which proved to be a hit and gave fans a personal look at the superstar. Since then, a lot has changed for Rhodes, who now has another chance at winning a world title at WrestleMania, and the American Nightmare is also seeking a part 2 of this documentary. Speaking to Raj Prashad of Uprocks, Cody stated that he has expressed interest in doing a sequel and has made it clear to one of WWE's most influential figures. He said, "I'd like to see a part 2 to the documentary. I've expressed that to Nick Khan. I know he's got big documentaries and other stuff on the table that are happening, especially with the Netflix deal and all that, but I'd like to see a part 2 only because of how sour the finish of part 1 is. It's real life. It is what it is. But I'd like people to know that if they believed, hopefully it was for a good reason." While Becoming Cody Rhodes was great, it did end on a downer, with Rhodes' defeat at WrestleMania 39 proving to be just as heartbreaking as when it happened in April. Now Rhodes is heading to the main event of WrestleMania yet again, and will a sequel to his documentary be released, this time with a happy ending? Time will tell. On this week's Raw, CM Punk confirmed that his torn triceps injury will keep him from competing at WrestleMania 40, but it'll take a lot more than that to keep Punk away from pro wrestling. PW Insider reports that CM Punk has since undergone surgery and was backstage at last night's episode of Smackdown and was sporting a brace after going under the knife. CM Punk didn't appear on last night's show, but it's clear that WWE means the world to him right now, and we're continuing to wish the best in the world a full and speedy recovery. And we're ending today with Naomi, who's back with WWE as we saw in this week's Smackdown, but fans will have one more chance to see the Glow compete in the ring as a TNA knockout. Given that TNA often tapes in advance, Trinity will be a part of next week's Impact, which will see a tag team match with Jordynne Grace against Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans. On Instagram, Trinity made it clear that she's looking forward to slapping the taste out of the mouth of Shaw and Evans one more time, as well as their manager, Jay Vidal. Naomi is immensely grateful for her TNA run and has called herself a TNA knockout for life in her Twitter bio, and fans will get to see her one more time in a TNA ring.